It's 6:30 a.m. Hundreds of Indonesian fishers gather at a port in Donggang Township in southern Taiwan for a prayer to mark Eid al-Fitr. But worshippers say the turnout is less than expected, as many of them had to work. It should not be that way, said Tarzan, an Indonesian migrant fisher, pointing to a clause in the Fisheries Agency's standardized contract for migrant fishers.
Having
Eid al-Fitr off is our right. I heard about a law allowing us to take one day off on a religious holiday. But in reality, some ships still have to sail today.
Tarzan was also often physically pushed by his former boss when his work fell short of the boss's standards. But he never reported the abuse to the Fisheries Agency for fear of negative repercussions.
I never filed any complaints because I was afraid that would create more trouble with the broker's office.
Tarzan's experiences only scratched the surface of the abuses of migrant workers who man Taiwan's distant water fishing vessels. Those abuses got Taiwanese caught fish placed on the US list of products produced by child labour or forced labour in 2020 and 2022. Taiwan is hoping it will be left off the next list that comes out later this year and feels progress has been made. One official said, for example, that fishers should not worry about reporting abuses.
All complaints filed through the 1955 hotline are recorded, and cases related to distant water fishing are forwarded to the Fisheries Agency. We ensure confidentiality and prioritize crew members' interests in handling these cases.
Just getting paid has been an ordeal for some of these migrant fishers, and they decided they needed a migrant workers advocacy group to intervene.
In late 2023, 19 fishermen didn't get their salaries for 6 to 10 months because the shipowner claimed he was bankrupt. After a second mediation with brokers, employers, Global Labor Justice, and the Fisheries Agency, they were finally paid.
When migrant fishers do receive their paychecks, Muzakir says there are varying amounts deducted by brokers as administrative fees because it's illegal to collect job placement fees. Further complicating the issue is the fact that most Taiwanese distant water fishing vessels do not have onboard Wi-Fi. According to the Fisheries Agency, only 98 of the country's over 1,000 distant water fishing vessels have Wi-Fi installed.
They don't have Wi-Fi at sea, so they don't have the means of communication to the families for several months. So each time they can contact their family is usually they dock to a port. So that's the only time they can make sure if the family get the salary or not. And usually the answer is no, or maybe not so much. It's a big deduction.
According to NGOs, another serious issue in the industry is excessive working hours. This has persisted, despite Taiwan having introduced statutory rest hours of at least 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep per day and at least 77 hours of rest every 7 days.
If they're on the fishing site, usually they have to work non-stop for a very long time. So, because that's the owner's from the owner's benefit. Humans are not machines. You cannot let them work like that. They will be sick. They might die from it.
The Fisheries Agency gave a very different account. It said that of the about 80% of Taiwan's distant water fishing vessels it inspected over the past 2 years, 89% fully complied with working hour regulations. Also, no wage-related violations were reported for 95% of the vessels checked during that period. As an example of steps it has taken to protect the rights of migrant fishers, the Fisheries Agency referenced its interviews with crew members at fishing ports, designed to identify labour standards violations. But NGOs cast doubt on their effectiveness, saying they are scheduled in advance and the fishers can be influenced on how to answer.
So actually the owners and the brokers, they knew they will be in the interview. They have the chance to tell them what to say and what not to say.
Some crew members who said unpleasant things about their employers got bad feedback in return and were deported. That's why they're scared to tell the truth in interviews with the Fisheries Agency.
Clearly, the migrants and the government have conflicting views of how migrant workers are being treated. Which view prevails will likely determine Taiwan's fate when the US publishes its next list of products produced by forced labour. Sean Lin, Mira Lucita, and Rick E. in Pingdong County for CNA.